Morning, another beautiful day in God's kingdom. So, supposing you get this call and it's unexpected, in fact, you don't even recognize it as such, just like we find in the story that we have before us today as we look into the book of Daniel, and we're in Daniel chapter 1. Let's read what it says from the very first verse. It says this: In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And in the process, he overran it, took all the beautiful things, all the treasures, took them over to his own, to Babylon, to his own palace, took all the treasures he could find in, in Jerusalem. And he took all these things away. And also, he said to his chief officials, he told them, bring all the young men that you can find, young men who are handsome, who are well read, who are erudite. Bring all these ones who are qualified to serve in the king's palace. Bring them over and teach them the literature and the language of the Chaldeans. And then the king goes on and says, he says, provide them with royal food and wine and train them for 3 years. And then they will enter into the king's service. And amongst the people that were brought were four young men, four young Israelites: Daniel, Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah. These were all to be brought along, and they came to Babylon. And the Bible says in verse 8, it says this: But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's food or wine, and so he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself. You see, all of a sudden, Daniel and his young friends who had been princes living their lives in Jerusalem, living their lives as young nobility, find themselves held captive, brought as prisoners into this strange place, into this strange palace, and being told to drop their Jewishness, to drop, all of that, and begin to live as Babylonians. And Daniel decided no, he was not going to do that. He was not going to, this was going to be too much for him. He was not going to do anything that would defile him and cause him to offend God. And that was him, unknowingly and unexpectedly answering a call at that point in time. And what was that call? That call was to stand on his to stand his ground and to stand for God in that situation, and so he rises up to the occasion, just like you and I are expected to. That you might not even realize it, you might not know that this is a call that is out there, that is being put out there for you to answer. That call to stand for God in that office, to stand for God in that school, to stand for God in that business place, in that marketplace. But it becomes a call when all of a sudden you find yourself being asked to do something that you know is going to go against your faith, is going to go against your belief in God, and is going to offend the God that you serve. At that point in time, you need to rise up and answer the call, like Daniel did with his friends, and decided that no, he was not going to do anything that was going to offend God, and he was going to answer the call that says, stand up for the God that you serve. So I pray that you and I, will always have that ability to rise up and answer the call to stand for Christ wherever we find ourselves. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.